Hey, what up, everybody? Welcome to a living room edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. I am Emerson Lotz. We're checking all the boxes this morning, DFS and sportsbook plays from around the NBA, NHL, and college football. But we're going to start with a fun little game of over-under with DraftKings contributor Pierce Dietrich. Rolling solo today, my sweet chinchilla. So week 10 of the NFL season kicked off last night. The Panthers knocking off the Falcons. Wow. Which means Tom Brady and the Bucs find themselves in first place in that beautiful, lowly NFC South. So he's gearing up to face the Seahawks in Germany on Sunday morning. His passing yards prop was originally at 280.5, now up to 284.5, Pierce, a mark that he's hit just 4 times this season. So you brave enough to take the over here?
Yeah, I'm not going to take the over. I don't get this. I mean, I guess it's Tom Brady, big name Tom, whatever. But
Well,
they
coming
have
off
not
that game too, the game where we had the last second comeback and stuff, everyone's riding high with
one
Tom
drive.
right now.
Yeah,
I agree.
I guess that's what's on people's mind. They remember that last drive and they just think, oh, everything is good. But he's had plenty of good drives this season. He's looked fine plenty of times. But overall, Tampa has not been consistent on offense overall. They just have not looked good. The play calling by Byron Leftwich, the schemes, it's just not there. He looks gun shy in the pocket. He's getting rid of the ball way too soon. I mean, if he would stay back, hold the ball a little bit longer, give his receivers a little bit more time, maybe this offense could be more dynamic. But that's not happening. He's releasing early. He's just not completing a lot of the passes that he needs to complete. We've seen him go under this number plenty. And Seattle's a good defense. Yeah. I like Seattle a lot. They've only allowed a team to go over this number 3 times. One of those, I mean, they even held Justin Herbert to 293 yards. And we know that the Chargers love to pass the ball. I just don't see it happening. If you look at the last 5 games for Seattle, they've held their opponents to 225 passing yards or fewer. I mean, that's not even close to the number that Brady's got to hit on the road in these games where we typically expect it to be a little conservative and slow. Also, the Seattle is 5th in sacks.
Yeah,
there's another way that you disrupt Tom Brady. I just don't see it happening. And there's been plenty of times where the Buccaneers have just decided, oh, we're going to run the ball nonstop. We've seen them do that.
Man,
so.
They haven't even been good at that. Like it's so
Fournette's awful.
Yeah, I know, dude. That's why. Who's the dude behind him who's starting to get a lot more looks? White, I think it is.
Yeah, Rashad White.
Yep. So is there like a bet in this game or like a prop, something you do like the over on?
Yeah, I'm going to save one of the props we'll talk about a little bit later. But I mean, if you want to look right now for receptions, I'll go into depth later. But receiving yards for Kenneth Walker at 10.5 is way too low. And we might touch on that in a bit. But I'm just going to say it now. You look at his first 2 games where he became a starter, he ran 10 routes in both games. The last 2 games, he's run over 20 routes. He's a big part of their offensive attack. He hasn't got the results yet. It's going to happen. Defenses have got to worry about DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, even though Fant had a big play last week. They've got tons of weapons downfield, and you're going to see things open up scheme-wise for Kenneth Walker. They're splitting him out. They're running him as a slot receiver. They're doing a lot of unique things with him. I mean, it's early, but I'm telling you, by the end of the season, he's going to be fitting into that CMC mold of the running back that does everything, that's playing all the snaps. And to get 10.5 in this spot, I really like it.
All right, so that's your favorite player prop on the board right now, so I don't have to ask you that question coming up later.
Yeah, we can scratch that one off later.
Okay, all right, good.
Prop.
Awesome.
Kenneth Walker over 10.5 receiving yards.
All right, sweet. So now we can talk. Now we can talk America's team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's potential here for a shootout, Pierce, against the Chiefs in Kansas City, but how many of those points will come from the visitors? That's up in the air. Travis, Trevor, Christian, I don't know. You want the over? 51 points here?
Yeah, I'll probably take the over. One of the problems we always find ourselves with Kansas City is that, they've got the names, and so we always just expect a bunch of points from this team, and rightfully so. They're averaging the most points in the league with 30 points per game. But the sportsbook always, factors that in. So we've got a pretty lofty number for a Kansas City-Jacksonville matchup. But I will go in this direction. I'll take the over. I know that Kansas City's offense didn't necessarily show up in their last game, their win over Tennessee, but that was actually a pretty bad matchup for them. Tennessee is awesome against the run, and Kansas City is trying their best to run this season. They just don't really have a very good run game. And then on top of that, Tennessee mainly, like their pass defense isn't very good, but it gets exploited by downfield passes, receivers that can stretch the field. But Tennessee's really good at stopping underneath routes. And that's really all that Kansas City can do now with their current receiving core. They don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. They can't stretch the field. They've got Juju running 5-yard routes, McCole Hardman running 5-yard routes. And it's just a terrible matchup. But they survived that game. Now, you look at Jacksonville against short routes, which is what Kansas City runs. Jacksonville ranks 27th. So this is a bad spot for Jacksonville. Kansas City shouldn't have any problem moving the ball, scoring points. And then offensively, Jacksonville, middle of the road, but I know that you're more of the optimist with, your America's team.
Yeah, you're damn right, bud.
Look, you got to get excited about ETN.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is developing one game at a time. He's getting there. I mean, he's not elite yet, but he makes plays. He moves the chains. He gets some points on the board. I think Jacksonville will do enough. I don't think they're going to win this game. Usually, I think.
I mean, they could cover because the Chiefs suck at covering, especially at home.
Well, it's because always the lines are always so hard. But here's a trend. I know you love the trends. Kansas City 10-4 towards the over when they are home or when they're the favorites. So
okay, all right. Well,
whatever.
Jacksonville on the rise, finding its groove, and they've also found their way into a six one-score games this season. Apologies to the Jags though. But the marquee matchup in the NFL this week is clearly the NFC North leading Vikings visiting the AFC East first place Bills. Although, Pierce, it could lose some of its shine here. Superstar Josh Allen doesn't play because of an elbow injury, so it could definitely impact the Stephon Diggs revenge game narrative. Like, would his receiving yards prop be a stay away spot for you? If it's Keenum under center, let's keep in mind, would also be a revenge game for Keenum if he gets to start.
Yeah, so I'll take the under for both of these. Diggs is great. Justin Jefferson is great, but we'll start with Diggs. And you mentioned it. Without Josh Allen, I just don't think that Diggs is going to have an explosive game. I don't expect a lot from him. You never know. Maybe Keenum will just pretty much key in on Diggs. We don't know what to expect. And without knowing what to expect, I don't think you can go into that bet and feel comfortable. I mean, yeah, they have a history together, but I don't think any of that really matters. Was it a handful of years ago? They had a pretty good connection at Minnesota, but man, that was a long time ago. Yeah. I don't even know if Case Keenum can still play or not. We don't know what Buffalo's scheme would be with Keenum under center. If Josh Allen's under center, I don't know how he's going to be. Or I just can't go anywhere near that. And on the other side, Justin Jefferson against Buffalo, I want nothing to do with that. I know Jefferson is elite, but this is the best defense there is. Now, did this defense look that good last week? They looked fine. Did they lose the game? Yes. But the problem last week was that the Buffalo offense kept putting Buffalo's defense in bad positions, and they gave up some points. And then they also played some pretty soft coverage at the end of each half, which I can't understand why. Buffalo was playing more of a prevent, and it kind of backfired and gave up points. But overall, if you watch that game, Buffalo's defense was fine against the Jets. They didn't give up very many points at all. And we're dealing with short fields constantly. I think they're going to be fired up. They're going to want to make a statement game here against the Vikings, and you're going to see one of the best performances from the Buffalo Bills defense all year, which means I'm not going anywhere near Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Bets or for DFS.
Yeah, and Tre'Davious White potentially making his season debut for sure. We'll get you out of here with this. Just your favorite bet overall on Sunday.
Money line. Seattle Seahawks going heavy on this. Look, this team is for real. I cannot believe. I mean, if you want to take the points, That's fine as well. But Tom Brady's getting way too much respect. We talked about that earlier. And no one will put any respect on the Seattle Seahawks. This is, Legion of Boom 2.0. You might not be familiar with a lot of the defensive players on this team, but if you go back to when the Legion of Boom first started, you didn't know any of those guys either. 2-3 years in, then you became familiar with all the Seattle defensive superstars. This is a new defense they've put together. I mean, they got guys in trades through Denver. They picked up free agents. They drafted Tariq Woolen. We got Michael Jackson as a cornerback who's not really good against the pass, but it's pretty solid against the run. It's it's kind of like a ragtag defense right now of a bunch of random parts from random places, but it will come together. It is coming together. You're going to know this defense. And I mean, we don't need to talk anymore about the offense, but Geno Smith, the receivers, they look amazing. Kenneth Walker can carry this team. And you flip that and look at what Tampa's doing. They had one drive last week. Tampa does not look good. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Seattle money line.
Yeah, their offense does not look great. Not sure if their defense has enough to contain those wide receivers of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Man, Geno Smith outdueling Tom Brady. Welcome to 2022, Pierce Dietrich. Let's go, baby. All right, your job here is done. We are going to get into some NBA coming up after this, some NBA price check, but a little more about Sunday night's game right now. How about a KFC bucket pick delivered by Steve Buchanan? What's up, y'all? Emerson Latzia here, along with DraftKings contributor Steve Buchanan, way over there. Welcome to this week's Showdown Spotlight, presented by KFC. So it's the Chargers and 49ers on Sunday night. We got a couple second-place teams going at it. Chargers have been better on the road this season. That includes Justin Herbert's numbers. Yep. So who are you making your KFC bucket pick?
Yeah, it's not going to be a mind-blowing pick by any means, but Christian McCaffrey is absolutely the guy you want to make for your bucket pick here. In his first full game last week, obviously absolutely crushed it there with the 49ers, just under 200 total yards, threw a touchdown because why not? 40 DraftKings fantasy points in that game. Now he's going up against one of the worst run defenses in the league with the Chargers. They are one of two teams that have allowed an average of over 30 DraftKings fantasy points to that position. This is another huge spot for Christian McCaffrey.
Threw for a touchdown, ran for a touchdown,
does it all.
Caught a touchdown. Who do you want to stack with Christian McCaffrey? Who do you want to stack with your bucket pick?
Yeah, so the idea that the 49ers are playing ahead in this one, you want to go with the Chargers receiver. They continue to be decimated by injury at that position, so give me Joshua Palmer, who's been their go-to guy over the past two games. 22 total targets in those games, just over 160 receiving yards. That should continue this week. We don't know the statuses of Keenan Allen. We know Mike Williams is going to be out in this one, so with all that in mind, Palmer should continue to be the wide receiver one in this game. That's who Herbert's going to be targeting, so give me Joshua Palmer as the one to go with.
All right, good stuff, Steve. Appreciate you. And thanks for all of you for watching this week's Showdown Spotlight presented by Kentucky Fried Chicken. Finally, spicy buffalo and cool creamy ranch have come together, introducing KFC's new Buffalo Ranch Sauce, the perfect blend that turns every bite into the perfect bite. Only at KFC. Now that's finger licking good. All right, back on the screen, everybody. It is the Sweat, Friday edition of the Sweat from my living room. So we're going to switch gears now and head to the NBA, do some price check right now. 8 games on this slate. Gary and Thorne, DK contributor. Jeff Pratt, DK contributor. I have some questions. You two have some answers. So my first question, Gary and Thorne, is going to be on this 8-game slate. Who would be the guard you will roster that'll cost you north of $7,500?
I'm just going to keep answering the same name until his price jumps to a level that is acceptable, and that is Fred VanVleet. We're just going to keep going back to this well.
Should we just run back what you said the other day on the show?
Pretty much. It's the exact same situation. He has now played 3 games since Pascal Siakam went down with an injury. In those games, he's got a 29% usage rate. He's averaging 1.45 DraftKings points per minute, which isn't just hyper efficient, but we have to remember VanVleet is someone who Nick Nurse has shown time and time again. He will play 38 to 42 minutes in any given regular season game. I mean, he's truly just one of the perfect melds of efficiency and volume. And it's a pretty good matchup against Oklahoma City. They've actually been pretty stingy to the point guard position so far this season, but they operate at the 8th highest pace in the NBA. This should be a slightly up-tempo environment for VanVleet, and we know the Raptors like to operate in transition anyway. Yeah, with the secondary counting statistics he brings, the blocks and the steals, again, he should be like $9,500.
No, come on, don't say that. Don't say that. We don't, you know what? We like this. We like when you help
we
us
don't like
find
putting
gems.
okay,
we don't want the people who make the salaries to increase it by $2,000 here, dude.
I don't know if the algorithm can hear me. I don't even know what the algorithm is.
I don't either, man. But you're damn right. With that 8th fastest pace in the league, you definitely should continue to produce against the Thunder. Pratt, what about you, dude?
I will say quickly, Garion didn't get to make his Raptors pick last week when we were on Friday. So I'm glad that he got it in right away. I'm going to be going with Desmond Bane, who's over 8K for the first time this season, but I think you're still looking at a potentially elite return on value here. He's improved pretty much every aspect of his game. He's averaging 6 more points. He's grabbing more rebounds. And the stat that has really impressed me is bumping his assists from 2.7 to 4.7 per game. That's exactly what the Grizzlies need from him to become that secondary playmaker. He's coming off a big game in which he dropped 50 fantasy points. He's played 35 minutes or more in each of his last 3, and it's a relatively easy matchup tonight. The Timberwolves ranked 26th in fantasy points allowed to wings. We all know how ugly things are in Minnesota right now. They're just a train wreck. This is a great spot for Bane to stay hot.
All right, dude. Pratt, let's go. Let's go low on the board here, bro. Let's go under $4,500 for a guard. So I need like some value play here, but someone's going to produce some points for the people.
This is it, Emerson. This is the time for my weekly Celtics pick. It's going to be Derek White tonight. Okay. And every time I pick Derek White on this show, he has underperformed every single time. I've been keeping track. And then the next day he'll come out and he'll drop 30 plus DraftKings fantasy points. Tonight, we're breaking that curse. I'm speaking it into existence. He's taken a back seat offensively to Malcolm Brogdon. But now that Brogdon's out with a hamstring injury, the minutes and usage should jump back up. That's what happened in the second half of Boston's last game. After Brogdon was ruled out and didn't play, White finished with 26.5 fantasy points. His playing time usually depends on Boston's opponent and their size. They're playing the Nuggets tonight. Denver rolls with a lot of smaller guards, so we should see plenty of minutes. The Nuggets also ranked 23rd in fantasy points allowed to guards. At 4K, I think you're getting great value with White, and it's not just because he's a Celtic.
No, for sure. He's gone over 20 DK points in 3 of the last 5. I'll give you that. Gare Bear. You're very welcome. Gare Bear. How about some value?
I think the area people are going to kind of gravitate towards tonight, obviously, is Milwaukee. We already know there's going to be no Drew Holiday. There's going to be no Giannis. It's unfortunate for the purposes of this game. We can't talk about Javon Carter as his price point skyrocketed after scoring 60 DraftKings points in their last game. But George Hill is still super cheap. He's $3,900. Obviously, you can't use Wednesday's game as like a litmus test for upcoming games. It was a double overtime game against Oklahoma City, but Hill still played 35.4 minutes in that game. He scored 28 DraftKings points. He's going to be someone who's on the court for probably 25 to 30 minutes tonight if this thing doesn't go into double overtime. And San Antonio is just one of the best possible matchups you could draw in fantasy. They are 5th in pace. They are 25th in defensive rating. When you get top 10 or bottom 10, I guess, depending on your perspective, marks in those 2 categories for a defense, that just really makes you lick your chops. I think George Hill and the Bucks, everyone has to step up like 4 steps with Giannis and Holiday and Chris Middleton still off the floor. Javon Carter's probably going to still be the biggest beneficiary. And I would say even at 5'3", he's still viable. But George Hill at 3,900 is just too cheap considering what he's going to have to do tonight.
All right, dudes, let's beef it up a little bit. Let's go to forward. So, Gary, and forward, more than $7,500. Some big names are out here, but still some pricey dudes. I'm looking at Jason Tatum there. Earmuffs, Jeff Pratt, Jason Tatum at 10-1.
Yeah, I'll save Tatum for Jeff if he wants him. I'll go to the hated Los Angeles Lakers. Again, kind of an obvious spot, but Anthony Davis at $10,200. It's kind of funny, actually. I mentioned Van Vliet without Siakam is 29% usage rate, 1.45 DraftKings points per minute. Anthony Davis without LeBron James on the court this season is, I want to say fantastic because nothing about the Lakers has been fantastic this season, but when he's had to step up, even though the Lakers haven't won these games when he's needed, he was putting up some massive numbers. Unfortunately, didn't have to play in the fourth quarter. The totals across the board had a 34% usage rate. I think Davis hovering around 10K is a real
out of my mouth here. I think that Anthony Davis is absolutely the right play tonight if you're going to pay up for a forward. I'm among the majority of NBA fans who have soured on him, but I do think there's potential for a huge game tonight. Lakers are obviously a disaster, but we're getting to the point where, as Garion was alluding to, I think people are actually starting to underrate Anthony Davis. The guy is still averaging 23 and 10 with almost 2 blocks per game. I understand that he can't stay on the floor, but when he does get on the floor, he's pretty effective, especially when LeBron is out. So I think you should pay up for him tonight. If you want to pay a little bit down, Julius Randle has been consistent as of late. You're getting a good price at him, a good matchup. He scored, I think, 43 plus DraftKings fantasy points in 3 straight games. The usage rate has climbed back up. The Knicks are a complete mess to watch as well, just like the Lakers, but Randle is starting to find his rhythm after a pretty mediocre start to the season.
Oh my God. Where they're playing the Pistons here, and that defense giving up almost 119 points like a game, 4th highest in the NBA, 3rd most rebounds per game too. Damn. All right. So let's go down the board at forward then, Pratt. You got someone who's cheap. Give me a dude under $4,500.
So first things first, if Giannis is out tonight, I don't think Arjan Beauchamp, he's coming off a huge 34.5 point performance against the Thunder. Should see that I'm going to talk about is a Celtics player. I think he's a great value option. It's Sam Hauser. It's on Wednesday from 6 of 12 shooting from 3. He scored 26 plus minus. Really good value option.
Shooting individual like on the planet.
I mean, we got to give Luke Cornett 13 threes a game and see if he can shoot 50% too, right? Like there's definitely a chance. Shouts to Brendan Glasheen. And
yeah, Glash is like best friends with all these dudes because they all used to play with the main Celtics or the main Red Claws, whatever the hell they're called now.
Red Claws, truly a great G League team name. Look, it's the Bucks or the Lakers where you're trying to find value here tonight. I think Jeff did a great job already covering the Bucks, so I'll go back to the Lakers and just say that Austin Reeves probably in a pretty nice spot tonight too. Again, if you use that Monday game against the Jazz kind of as just a template for what could happen tonight with no LeBron, we have to remember too that there are other members of this Lakers starting lineup that are also questionable for this game. Like there could be a ton of minutes opened up tonight for the Lakers and some of these tertiary and secondary pieces. But Reeves played 29.8 minutes in that game, and much like Anthony Davis in the situation we were just talking about, that game got so out of hand that he didn't play what would normally be his regular allotment of minutes in the 4th quarter. So if the Lakers can just keep this game close against Sacramento, I think you're probably looking at like 35, 37 minutes for Austin Reeves, who is never going to be like a super high usage guy, but he's shown himself capable to score in this league. He can rebound at a slightly above average clip for his position. Like, I think if you're just going to be on the court that much in a game against Sacramento, who again, kind of check these boxes for opponent, they're not quite top 10 in pace. They're 11th, but they have the 26th defensive rating in the NBA. So bad defense, fast team, that really just helps everyone involved for fantasy.
All right, dudes, last one here because we're running tight on time. Just best center under $6,000, Jeff.
Give me Alexei Pokusevski, who is one of my favorite players in the NBA to watch right now, just because of how funky his game is. The Thunder play him at center. He's not a center. He's listed at 7 foot and 209 pounds. There's no way this guy weighs more than 180 soaking wet. In reality, he's a small forward playing center. And while that makes him a liability defensively, he's been able to produce offensively and take advantage of those mismatches. He gets Guardians Raptors tonight. They are tough defensively against big men, but he scored 38 plus fantasy points in 2 of his last 3. I think that there's room for him to keep cooking, even though the Raptors are probably going to cruise tonight.
All right, Gary Bear, someone in the middle who could keep cooking tonight.
I'm just going to bank on upside and go with Evan Mobley, who's got his lowest price tag of the season. He's down at 5,700. I understand it. I mean, right now he is way behind, God, you could even say he's like behind Karis LeVert in terms of like who's actually going to put up shots for the Cavaliers right now. But Mobley is at least the kind of person and the kind of player who's willing to do everything else. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to block shots. He's going to get some steals. So you would hope that maybe a couple of those rebounds are offensive rebounds. They lead to easy baskets. Like, he is someone who's gone over 30 DraftKings points in 5 of his last 8 games. He's going to play big minutes. Again, it's just he's not the high usage player that maybe some people thought he would be in his second season because of the supporting cast. But lowest price tag we've seen all season. That's obviously tempting. And Golden State, again, second in pace, 27th in defensive rating. Like, this should be a high scoring game. We've seen the Cavaliers play a lot of high scoring games on the West Coast during this trip so far. I think that continues tonight against Golden State. And I think Mobley is going to put up over 30 DraftKings points, but maybe he goes over 40 for the second time this season.
All right, gentlemen. Fantastic work. Your job here is done. We got to get out of here because guess who's coming up next? Ben Zwyman. Ben Zwyman is on the show, making his first appearance in maybe like 5 years or something. I have no freaking clue, but I'm excited to see his hairy face right after this break. We're talking NHL, by the way. Okay, people, this is it. This is what you've all been waiting for, what you all have been tuning in for. Ben Zwyman! Ben Zwyman is back on the sweat! Let's
Hello,
go!
everyone. I've been away for a while, but I was ready. It was time to come back. I was ready to return, and here we are.
Welcome home, you
Thanks.
legend. And you expert at talking sticky puck. So that's why we have you here. Because what do we have? Four games tonight around the NHL.
Yep.
So we're gonna go through each game here, and you and your beautiful head of hair can give us a DFS play and a bet that you like in each game. Let's start with the Pens and the Leafs here, dude. So I think the Pens won last time out, which snapped like a 7-game winless streak. So
Right.
what do you expect tonight between these two teams? DFS play and a bet, please.
DFS play is super easy. It's Mitch Marner. He's 5,500. I don't really know why. He's on a 7-game point streak. He has 2 goals and 9 assists over that span. He's going to skate a ton. He's going to be on the first power play. So that's super easy. If we're looking at the betting side, I don't really like this game because, like you said, the Penguins ended the losing streak. So I kind of think they're gaining some momentum here. I'm a little worried about backing anything like around Toronto. I kind of like the under at 6.5 -110. I think it'll be a tight game. The Leafs are tightening things up on defense. They've allowed 2 or fewer goals in 4 games. Or in 4 of in the past 4 games. I like the game to go under 6.5 goals here. So I think those are the 2 plays. Penguins money line is sneaky here because they're streaky. I do think the Penguins, they're either winning a bunch of games or they're losing a bunch of games.
All right. Well, what about Lightning Capitals, huh? What? Hey, dude, what tickles your fancy when you really dive into this game here, like on the DFS side and the sports betting side?
Yeah. So again, pretty easy DFS play. I like Nick Jensen at 4,200. The Capitals don't have Dmitry Orlov or John Carlson, so their blue line's pretty thin. Jensen's kind of the top defenseman at this point by default. He's going to skate a ton. He's not on either power play, which kind of hurts his value. Eric Gustafsson at 3,700 is on the Capitals' first power play, so a little bit more value there, and he's cheaper. But I think Gustafsson might be in more lineups. So Jensen's not a bad kind of pick. He'll get some blocks, he'll get some shots. Worst case, you're looking at a nice floor there. For the betting side, I kind of like the Lightning minus a half a goal, plus 150 in the first period. The Capitals don't generally score in the first period. The Lightning are favored in this game, so really the books think that it's going to be sort of closer than the Lightning pull away later in the game. The Lightning have won 4 of 6. The Caps again don't score in the first period. They tend to come out a little cold. Bolts are playing well. The line's juiced up at plus 150, so I like kind of risking it there.
Dude, you know what they say? You gotta risk it for the biscuit.
You got to risk it to get the biscuit, man. Everybody knows this.
Dude, we had biscuits yesterday with KFC in studio. My God, they were delicious.
I miss that. I miss those days.
Dude, I miss eating with you in studio. I miss eating biscuits with you. I miss just doing things with you.
I miss your musk. I miss your scent.
Yeah. You name it. You name it about you, and I miss it about you. I also, but right now, dude, I'm jonesing for a DFS playing a bet for Shark Stars.
Yeah, this is the game that I really like tonight. This is the game that should pop off a little bit, at least on one side. So pretty chalky play on DFS. I think a lot of lineups will be stacking Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, Joe Pavelski, the top line for the Stars. They've been phenomenal in November, 21 points combined in 4 games. They all skate on the first power play together, so you're getting good correlation there. The Sharks are on the second night of a back-to-back. They lost to the St. Louis Blues, who have been horrible this season.
Yeah.
They gave up 5 goals there. So I think it's going to be a chalky stack, but I think if you mix in some other plays, Miro Heiskanen's not a bad play on defense for the Stars. Also first power play. Maybe you run it back with Thomas Hertl, Logan Couture, or Timo Meier on the San Jose side. But I think this is the game that a lot of lineups will be targeting for stacks. Subsequently, Stars minus 1.5 at plus 110. Huge value here. Every game the Stars have won this season, they have won by 2 or more goals. They're favored pretty heavily. So if you think the Stars are going to beat the Sharks, chances are they're going to do it by more than at least 2 goals. So really, that's all. I mean, I really don't need to say anything else, I think, on that one.
No. I mean, it's completely up to you. If you wanted to say something else, like that's the reason we have you here. But if your thoughts are complete about that game, we do have one more to hit on if you want to move to that.
Yeah, I think we're complete on that one. I really like the Stars Sharks game though.
Okay, let's get wild. All right, let's get cracking. Let's talk wild. Let's get wild. Talk to me about the Wild and the Kraken, man. DFS play, followed up with your bet, followed up with the curtain closing on your appearance.
Ooh, the curtain. Ooh, nice. So these two teams played not too long ago. The Kraken shut out the Wild on the road 4-0. So kind of a tough game to predict because you think the Wild sort of tighten things up and figure it out. That's kind of why I like the under. The public seems to like the under 6.5 goals minus 120. That's why the line is minus 120. Again, Kraken shut out the Wild the last time out, so there's a chance that we see them kind of lock things down on defense. Although I do think the Wild make adjustments on the defensive end, and especially with Marc-Andre Fleury, I think he'll kind of bounce back in this one. So I'm sort of predicting a tighter game, lower scoring. As far as DFS, there's value in this game only because a lot of lineups probably aren't going to target it. I think a lot of lineups will look to those 3 other games for plays. But if I'm looking at anything, if we think that a similar type of game script's going to play out, then the Kraken's top line isn't a bad stack. Oliver Bjorkstrand, Andre Burakovsky, and Alexander Wenberg, all of them are under 5K. It's super cheap. They've been playing super well together in that game. I think they combined for a couple points. So really, if you're looking for a value kind of stack, I think the Kraken top line is the way to go.
Kraken, one of the hottest teams in the league right now, man. They're putting their franchise record 5-game win streak on the line when they host the Wild.
You got to put it on the line.
That? Dude, I feel like we're on a win streak now that we've been back together. I was so happy to hear that you were coming back, and like Samir was excited. Everyone's excited. I'm getting all these chats, all these texts and stuff. People are like, is it true? Dude,
I'd been meaning to come back. It was just the right time this Friday, and hopefully I'll be able to make some more appearances throughout the season.
Well, it's getting chilly out there. It's hockey season. # snuggle alert, man. Don't be a stranger, okay?
Oh, I won. We'll be snuggling soon enough, my man. Don't you worry.
Oh my God, I love you. Okay. All right. We got to go. We have college football best bets coming up after this break. Yes, we are so back. The boys are back. All right, you guys and gals know the drill. We wrap up our Friday segments here, our Friday shows on the Sweat with a college football best bet segment with my dude, Colin Sherwin. We're getting right into this thing, dude. What is your bet? What is your bet when it comes to LSU taking on Arkansas this week? Because we know that it's just kind of a letdown spot coming off the high of knocking off Alabama.
Yeah, this is like the letdown of the century potentially here. However, if LSU does get it done this weekend, they are they're going to win the SEC West, which I think after they lost to Florida State to open the season in the Sun Dome, I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. So really interesting. This is a trap. I don't love this game on any side whatsoever, but if I'm going to bet it, I'm going to bet under 61. I think there are going to be some spots where Arkansas is going to be able to get LSU's offense off of the field. And then, the problem with Arkansas this year is not the offense. It has been the defense, but I think they're going to run into a defense that's a little bit stronger than what they've seen to this point. So I don't love it, but I'm going to take 60. This actually opened 65 as the total. I love that. At 61.5, I still kind of like it, but it's not fantastic. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. This is not a great game. There's better games on the board. Find something funnier.
Okay. All right, cool. So then would one of the better games on the board be Bama and Ole Miss here, number 9, number 11. Lane Kiffin's like trolling Alabama and Nick Saban like on social media. Like, what are you betting in this matchup?
On this one, it's the opposite. I actually like over. I think both teams can really score here. This one should be a lot of fun. Both teams going to get up and down. I think Alabama just matches up really well with a Mississippi defense. Just their corners are terrible. And speaking of terrible corners, Alabama has terrible corners too.
Yeah.
So I think both these teams can really go back and forth. I don't know why this is so low. I have this like 68 on my board. It's 64.5 right now. I might even play this as high as like 70. Like, I just think this is going to be a track meet. We could be looking at like this week's version of Houston SMU. Could be this game. I don't know if you saw that last week. It was the old 77-63 final in regulation.
Give it to me.
All day. So much fun.
So like, and I was looking at too, like Jackson Dart, like he may not be on the same planet as guys like Jaden Daniels, or even like a Hendon Hooker this year. Hooker, your guy, but like he'll make enough plays to let the Rebels hang around.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, they're better with Jackson Dart here, but like, even if they had go, it's okay. They're still going to be able to move the ball. The spread only being 11 makes me think that maybe there's some stuff we don't know on this game. There might be some injury information that comes in here at the last minute, so keep an eye on that as well. Okay. But if I'm going anywhere, I'm going over. Points. Let's go. And I never bet points. So if I'm going over, you really should go over.
Yeah, no, sure. Are you betting points on Bourbon Street with legendary America's team with UCF? Hey, listen, come on. I need you to not be biased on this one. I need you to not be angry because you're a USF guy. Be real with me here. This UCF game against Tulane, I'm actually pissed that game day decided like not to go here. But what is your bet in this game, brother?
So, gun to my head, Gun might now remember this opened Tulane at a pick 'em. It is now Tulane minus 1.5, and that's because much like the rest of the world, nobody likes UCF. So it actually, I don't blame them either. It actually should be like 2.5, but I think they're just going to eat up John Reese Plumlee for lunch. But the better bet here is under 54.5. I'm just going to play this as an under. I do think that Tulane's defense is going to be the best defense that UCF has seen so far this season, but Tulane does struggle to move the ball themselves. They're not exactly super quick out there with Willie Fritz's like modified triple option offense. So it's not like they're going with a lot of pace. I do like under here as the play. As far as the game, I mean, I would take Tulane, but I really don't want to lay anything. So this is a stay away from me, but I am an under. And but I do think Tulane gets it done. Yeah. And your boy John Reese Plumlee is just going to really struggle with that defense. He gets very confused. He gets confused.
He's not the best quarterback on the team. He's not the best quarterback on the team. I don't know what they're doing, dude.
I know, but yeah, best quarterback on your team might be USF's former quarterback. Actually.
It's true, man. Which again, congrats on firing your head coach there. I know that.
Hey, anytime it's tough to let a coach go that's only won one FBS game in his last 27 opportunities, but sometimes you just got to make those tough moves. Yeah. Real challenge there. We'll get to that one.
All right, let's go to the Pac-12. Is Oregon going to squander this huge opportunity against Washington?
I don't love this game either way. I'm a stay away here. I just don't think this is a fun one. Neither one of these teams, I think, have anything that's not been exposed already by the lines makers at this point. Oregon's better. Look, man, Bo Nix is legit. I never saw this coming. I thought you had told me that Bo Nix would be a better quarterback this year than Michael Penix. I'd have given you that action before the season started, but that's just the way it worked out. And ever since that, look, man, Oregon's still got a shot to get to the playoff here. If their only loss is that destruction in week 1 to a Georgia team that's going to be the number 1 overall, I think there is absolutely a path, especially if TCU goes down.
All right. Best bet for this weekend in your eyes. Colin Sherwin, this is you. These are your eyes. You're saying the best bet on the board this week in college football is what?
All right. So Syracuse is getting 7 at home against Florida State. I think this Florida State team is still overrated. I think they really struggle in close games just because they're really poorly coached and clock managed. That is the complete opposite for Syracuse, who I think is one of the better coached teams in the country. Catching 7 at home, give me the orange at home. I'd love it at 7.5. There's still some floating around out there. TCU is a very live dog in Austin, baby. Hypno-toad in the house. They're hitting 7.5. As long as you're not laying 7, give me the 7.5. Let's go Frogs, baby. Let's have a good story in college football this year. 13-0 Frogs. Let's do this. Let's go. South Carolina catching 8 at UF. I want to bet how many turnovers will Anthony Richardson have and go over 2. I love that if you can find that as a prop because South Carolina is going to pick him off. Dead coach bounce for USF, by the way. I haven't bet USF all year. Dead coach bounce, though. They're getting 17.5 at SMU. I really like in that game, though, over 72.5. When it's high, go higher, and when it's low, go lower. So New Mexico Air Force is 38. Should be like 28. Give me the under. So I'm over on the big one and under on the low one.
Everything seems so hunky-dory for Billy Napier. When Florida started off the season with a win over Utah, since then things have just been up and down. And
he's going to be fine. He's a good coach. They just got to leave him alone for a year or two. He's going to be okay. But get caught in that politics. Got a new university president this week now, too. Who the hell knows what that does?
I know. South Carolina may be the most, by the way, unimpressive 6-3 team in the country. That's
100%. But they play hard in the right spots.
Okay. All right. Colin Sherwin, good times as always, man. Thanks everybody for watching. There's a Friday edition of the Slate at 5:00 tonight. We'll see everyone in studio Sunday morning for all that fun NFL coverage your beefy heart desires. Much love.